Good morning. My name is Bill. This is my channel, Fretboard Refugee. We're a little out of order this week. It's been a busy week work-wise, so today we're going to be doing our weekly roundup, which is normally done on Monday. And as you've noticed, this being Wednesday, the 3rd of September, we have skipped Alternate Tuning Tuesday, although I still intend to do some Theory Thursday tomorrow. So, I've been working a lot on my fingerstyle and my scales this week. Two of the people who I follow, Kyle Orla from Kyle Orla Stringworks and Tony Polcastro from Tony's Acoustic Challenge, are doing the same song this week. And it's one of my favorites. It is Spike Driver Blues by Mississippi John Hurt. I've been working on a few different Mississippi John Hurt tunes, mostly Spike Driver Blues and Lonesome Valley this week. Both fingerstyle pieces, both primarily using G and C shapes. I've also been working on David Hamburger's arrangement of Since I've Laid My Burden Down, which is a sometimes Mississippi John Hurt tune. That one's in C, and it's a little more challenging because the Fs are kind of hard to get to fingerstyle. This instrument here is my Applause short scale guitar. Applause is the value brand of Ovation. I actually picked this up at a pawn shop for 20 bucks and fixed it up. And this is what I use to practice my fingerstyle. What I've done is I've tuned it down a full step and then capoed it up a full step. So we are in E standard tuning here, but the frets are closer together, the strings are a little looser. This is my get something under my fingers guitar before I practice things on a more challenging instrument. So, just to give you an idea of what I'm working on with Spike Driver Blues, I'm going to play through, to the best of my ability, the Kyle Orla simplified arrangement here. So this is 12 bars, but it's really a vamp on one chord. So it's more of a, I don't know what you'd call it. It's not quite a 12-bar blues. It is 12 bars and it is a blues, but it is more of a A-B arrangement than a traditional 12-bar blues. So. So that was pretty sloppy, but that is the basic tune that we are working with here. That's a simplified version. No hammer-ons, no pull-offs, which is kind of a relief. Because Tony's versions, well, Monday's exercise was basically practice of the rhythm of this tune, which does a funny little thing. It's 4/4, but it does a funny little thing with the timing. If I can show you how that works here. I'm just going to play through the first 5 measures and sort of show you how that counts out. So it kind of goes 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Like so. So it's kind of it's still in 4/4. The basic rhythm of the song doesn't change, but you're doing one measure where it's 1 and 2, break on the and, 3 and 4, break on the and then you're into 1, break on the and, 2 and 3 and 4, I'm sorry, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and, like that, over and over again, which is kind of hard to get under your fingers. That was Monday's exercise in Tony's acoustic challenge. Tuesdays is more of the actual lick from the song with hammer-ons, and I really do not have these down yet, but I will do them to the best of my ability here. So 1 and 2, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I really can't play that at speed yet, but I will go ahead and play the Tony version without the hammer-ons. How about that? And that's sort of the basic lick. Gonna take me a while to get the timing down on this, but when I'm warmed up, I can play through Kyle Orla's version pretty much in time, which is a huge step for me. Another tune that I've been working on is You've Got to Walk That Lonesome Valley, also Mississippi John Hurt. And well, the way I play it, it sounds pretty much indistinguishable from the last one, but here we go. Okay, so that is pretty far from being musical the way I'm playing it right now, but for the most part I can hit the notes, so I figure I am well on my way to having that under my fingers. The other Mississippi John Hurt tune that I've been actively working on is an arrangement of the old spiritual Since I Laid My Burdens Down, which is a 12 bar, which kind of uses C, F, C, then throws in an A minor, then G, then C, then C. So the basic C figure is like this. And then the F, we're going to use our sort of classic full bar F chord. And we're back to C. And it proceeds thusly. There's kind of a A minor passage where we're sort of and we're back to C. And then we're briefly in G. Finish on C. And at speed, well, I can't really play it at speed, but I can sort of play it chordally at speed. So it's going to be glory, glory, hallelujah. Since I've laid my burden down, glory, glory, hallelujah. Since I've laid my burden down, and so on. And there's verses like that. It's a very fun song to sing along with. It's a hand clappy song. It's a churchy song. It's very gospel. You can sort of add a lot more dynamic and bounce to it chordally. So if you kind of played it in a bluegrass idiom. That requires more practice, but I kind of went to the G7 there instead of the G. It sounds pretty good. That's something I'll probably experiment with at some point. My focus with the acoustics has very much been on that fingerstyle this week, and I've also been working on a different way of playing my scales. Been doing the traditional shapes that people learn when they learn caged. So that shape for the F major would be oops. And the reason some people don't play them that way is because if you're trying to work on alternate picking or economy picking or any particular paradigm of how to pick where pick direction is important and consistent, you have this awkward phenomenon of there being an area with just two notes. So in G major, that would look 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. And all the different major scale shapes in Caged have at least one of those rows with 2 notes, because it doesn't make sense for where one pattern meets another to have a continuous scale and 3 notes unless you go diagonally. So what I've been working on is called the 3 note per scale version of the scale shapes. And the way that works is, so back to F major, you'd be 1st, 3rd, 5th, 1st, 3rd, 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 3rd, 5th, 6th. So that's 3 notes per scale. So if you want to do up, down, or down, up, down, you can do that consistently across the scales. That is just a way of sort of playing up and down the scales with automating your pick direction, so it's always the same. So if you're using what they call economy picking or sweep picking, you're always going to start on a down, then an up, then a down, and when you go to a new string, it's always going to be down, up, down. So you would go, if you're using economy picking, down, up, down, 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 down, up, down. And that would be the same every time. And if you're going backwards, it would be up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And that's a big change for me, because I'm used to alternate picking, where you would do down, up, down, up, down, up, and it would change which way you started with which string, because there's 3 notes per scale. So that's a new paradigm for me, and learning the scales in more than one shape, my theory is it'll help me really understand where they lie on the fretboard. So that's sort of what I've been working on this week. So the theme for the week is what I guess you would call, last week I focused specifically on timing. This week I'm focused a little more narrowly on what I guess you would call counting. So, for instance, with that rhythm exercise for the Mississippi John Hurt tune, 1 and 2, 2 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Actually figuring out which beat a given note falls on. So counting is a way that people anchor the rhythm in their mind before they have the rhythm down. Tony is a master at teaching this over at Tony's Acoustic Challenge. Whenever he does like a Tuesday riff or even a Monday like technique exercise, he usually counts it out so you know exactly how you're hitting things. Because the difference between obviously I can't really play this in what you'd call flat 4/4 time, because there's notes that don't fit in. But let's just say I play the same count each time. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2. It screws you up because you end up with extra notes. You really need to understand not just what notes are, what order they're in, but where they lie in relation to the beat. And counting is how you figure that out. My educational principle for the week is going to be, I guess you can call it cross-pollination. Cross-pollination is my internal monologue term for a situation where you have an approach to the same song from two different sources that differs. Now, I've given an example of this before when I was talking about learning the song Layla, Eric Clapton's song Layla. Pick up my other guitar. I'm going to make sure that I am basically in tune here. Bear with me. So, there's two very popular versions of Layla. One of them was the original very electric, very rocky version, Derek and the Dominoes version, the version that first made it a hit, which is played with power chords on the rhythm guitar, so pretty much the top 2 or 3 strings and moving between them. And there's an acoustic version that he famously played during the Unplugged performance that's predicated on a mix of chords and riffs. See, what's special about the Unplugged performance is he carries both the rhythm and a lot of the lead on his own individual guitar, whereas in the Derek and the Dominoes version, you have a rhythm guitarist playing those power chords. You have a multiple lead guitarists, one of whom is playing sort of on the 5th and 7th frets, doing one version of the main riff, and the other of which is playing up here in this register, doing another version of the main riff. So it's a much more complicated, layered piece with multiple instruments involved. When you're learning, say, the Unplugged version, you've got to kind of hammer on that C note, go into the D minor, then there's B flat, then there's a C, and then you're kind of up here. If you've practiced both of these versions back to back, you start to realize some of these power chords, wow, they're rooted on the exact same strings as some of these more elaborate bar chords. Well, of course they are. They're the same chord. You're going for the same sound. You start to see some of the little riff things you do in between chords, or things you use to transition between chords, are actually some of the same lead notes that the lead guitarist would be playing on some of those riffs. And of course they are, because it's the same song. That's something that's cool about the entire concept of a song. There's no one thing that makes it a song. It's kind of a ship of Theseus thing. Like, you could play the melody of a song, you can play the bass line of a song, you can play the harmony of a song, a chordal arrangement, where the guitar is sort of doing both the bass line and the harmony, and maybe a vocal line, you're singing, is what gives you the melody. Or it could be a solo where you're doing something melodic on the guitar while somebody else plays rhythm. All of those things are the song. If I played a chord arrangement of Happy Birthday and sang over it, you would recognize it as Happy Birthday. If I just played the melody line of Happy Birthday on the fretboard, one note at a time, you would recognize it as Happy Birthday. If I did both, if I did some kind of fingerstyle arrangement where I'm hitting the bass notes of the chords and the melody lines, and occasionally like vamping a chord around that, you'd still recognize it as Happy Birthday. So my big progress this week kind of came from seeing multiple ways of slicing and dicing the same song at various levels of simplicity. There's a way to play through that song with no hammer-ons and pull-offs. There's a way to play through that song with hammer-ons and pull-offs. There would be a way to sing the melody and just play the chords behind Spike Driver Blues, which is mostly going to be, well, I mean, it's pretty much a vamp on a G chord, but you could still get there. You could still play variants of those chords and sing over them. That's kind of a cool thing about what a song is, but it's a very cool thing when it comes to learning a song. This is what the whole paradigm of Tony's Acoustic Challenge is based on. That there's, well, he uses 5 layers, 5 things that constitute a song. On Mondays, he goes over a technique. In this particular case, it was that particular timing. He gives you a simplified version of some of the notes in that song to work on the timing, to work on the well, getting the melody under your fingers, being able to reach the notes that are in the melody, and understanding which notes go together. Tuesday, he does a lick, like a melodic theme that exists throughout the song, and it's often part of the same theme as the vocal melody, if there is one. Wednesday, he works on a scale that the song is in and improvising over the chord progression of that song. Thursday, he generally teaches the chord progression itself. And Friday is usually chord transitions or embellishments, where you're doing things like hammer-ons and pull-offs to make the chord progression richer, or using like a bass walk between chords to transition between them. That is one valuable way of dissecting a song, and kind of lends itself to that cross-pollination, because you're approaching something from more than one angle, and then you're seeing how it fits together. So that is the educational theme for the week. Instrument of the week. I've been playing this guy a lot. This is my Ibanez AC240, which I also picked up very cheap on Facebook Marketplace. What I love and hate about this guitar is it has a very wide nut. Now, it's traditional if you're playing fingerstyle to want a wider nut than if you're playing, quarterly, or if you're, riffing on the fretboard, because you have all this room between the strings to hold one down and not mute the one next to it, which is kind of essential. Just kind of essential if you're finger picking. You also have room down here to have fingers resting on the strings, where you can be arpeggiating and not getting in your own way by muting the next string you're going to pluck. That is the advantage of a wide nut. The disadvantage of a wide nut is you have to reach farther, you have to bar farther. So if I'm playing this guitar quarterly, it's sometimes a little harder to get a clean bar chord, because this is supposedly a 1 13/16 nut width. Standard is going to be something like 1 11/16. A typical fingerstyle optimized guitar is going to be 1 3/4. I find myself going between this one and the Applause, which is much narrower, when I'm learning a fingerstyle piece, because I have different disadvantages and different advantages with each of them. With this particular one, I can get nice clean separation between the strings, and I also love the sound of the mahogany top. But oftentimes, if I'm doing something like what we're doing, and Since I Laid My Burdens Down, where we're reaching a extended C chord with the 3rd fret of the low E string as well as the 3rd fret of the A string, it fatigues my hand faster because I'm reaching further. If I'm doing a kind of G structure like we're doing in let's say, Spike Driver Blues. That G7 reach there, that is a really long reach. That's a longer reach than it would be on a more conventional guitar. And since that reach comes up so much in fingerstyle, especially if we're hitting a G7 or implying a G7, that can be a lot. That's quite a stretch. So I'm using this to continue working on my stretching, and I've made huge progress this week in terms of actually reaching that more times than not. So that's a step in the right direction, but sometimes after 10 minutes of working on one lick that involves that stretch, my hand will be exhausted, like actually in pain. So it's valuable to switch between guitars of different nut widths while you're working on that. My piece of gear for the week, I don't actually have one prepared, but I have been experimenting with thumb picks. This is a national large pseudo tortoiseshell thumb pick. And the thing that I'm running into with thumb picks is a certain degree of difficulty with timing. Because if I'm doing a pinch, if my angle isn't perfect, it's a little difficult to get the timing exactly right. Now, I've seen a couple different versions of how people wear these. One school of thought is it should be right on the end of your thumb, like so. So it's almost like using the tip of your thumb, but with more attack. Another school of thought is it should be down past the knuckle. So you're reducing the space, and the tip of your thumb can actually also be on the string. That leads to a bassier sound. It works better with palm muting, but I still haven't really mastered getting that right. It's a tricky new angle for me. So that's something I'm going to continue to work on. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.